Hey everyone, it's Heather with Tropica Exotica, and today I'm going to talk about my Atlantis Bimini experience. So what I'm trying to do is create a series of videos that kind of lay the framework for who we are. And one of the concepts that we have is that we are this person experiencing a life on Earth. And that is how we kind of define ourselves. But in actuality, we've had many lifetimes, and so in different parts of the galaxy, different places here on Earth, and so what I want to do is try to share some of the experiences I've had, in particular about the memories I have from Atlantis. And so when you begin your spiritual awakening process, one of the things that may end up happening is that you end up having memories from different lifetimes. And this is caused by a few different things. It can be caused by meeting new people. These are people that you probably have actually known in other lifetimes, but you come across them in this lifetime, and that can trigger memory activations, as well as visiting sites and also participating in various spiritual activities such as meditation. And so for Atlantis, you probably already know about it, but it's basically an ancient civilization that really has not been acknowledged as being in existence in history. And I won't go too much into it right now, but Atlantis was destroyed probably, I think, around 13,000 years ago. And it's also associated with another civilization, Lemuria. So the first experience I want to talk about that I had was an out-of-body experience. And an out-of-body experience is when you basically, a part of yourself, the astral body, projects forth and your physical body stays where it's at, and you basically leave your body. And it's actually quite exciting when it happens because you don't have the physical body limitations. And so I've actually experienced myself going down through my mattress, through walls. I mean, it's a very different experience. So if you've had one, you would know it, because it feels very much like you're just free and you're just flying through space. So in this particular instance, it was very unusual in that I found myself going all the way down in the ocean, all the way down to the bottom of the ocean. And I remember as this was happening, I was sitting here thinking, I shouldn't be able to, do this, because I should be, not being underwater. And so I remember having this sensation like, like I can't breathe, like, what am I doing? I'm underwater. And then I just remember going down to the bottom of the ocean, and I saw what looked like these concrete round blocks that looked like where pillars had been broken off. And that's kind of just the only memory I have. It's just, apparently I was just going down there to look at it. And I just remember it was a very profound experience. First of all, because I was underwater, and secondly, because it looked like it was, the ruins of Atlantis down there. And then the next experience I had was, let me just lay the background for what caused this. I had gone to a retreat in Arizona, and I had met several different people that I believe are part of my soul family. I've talked about this before, tribe members that you end up coming together in this lifetime. And I met a couple there, and I think that meeting of those people kind of triggered activations of memory within me. And so after I had gone to that retreat, it was a few months later, I had a dream where I was standing with this couple, and the scene was these white structures, like buildings, that were had archways. And then I remember one particular room had this pool in it, and there were all these little alcoves in it. And then the ground, the walkway, was kind of brick or cobblestone. And I just remember standing there telling them that I love this place. And I think I gave them a high five or something like that. So And I don't really have too much other memories. There was something else in that dream. It was about a dove or a bird or something, but it's not real clear. But that's another example where, you know, to me, that was probably the one that made the most sense. Like, this is definitely Atlantis, because if you've ever seen pictures or rendering of Atlantis, they will have a lot of archways and they will have pools in there. So that was kind of exciting. And then the third experience is related to, and the next several experiences are related to actually going to Bimini. So Bimini is a part of the Bahamas. It's located just off the coast of Fort Lauderdale, and it is where a lot of people believe that Atlantis was located. I think there's a very powerful vortex energy there. And so how this situation ended up happening was, I had met these people in Arizona, and they had decided to plan a trip out to Bimini because they wanted to swim with the dolphins out there. Dolphins are supposedly from Sirius, and they are, I believe, very evolved spiritual beings. And so they really wanted to connect with them while we were there. And so, so one of the things that happened is, I was meeting a friend there the day before we were going to Bimini in Fort Lauderdale. And so I just, you know, had been traveling all day, and I was like, you know what, I'm just going to take a nap. So I decided to lay down. And as soon as I laid down, all of a sudden everything in the room, the walls, the furniture, everything became outlined in like this blue line, and then there would be these intermittent circles. And it was only for just a few seconds. It was just kind of like this flash, but it was very different, and I didn't understand it. But, you know, I was like, okay, that's weird. Just, you know, I don't know what that is. And then also, as I was taking a nap, I had a vision of a man's face right as I was, you know, trying to go to sleep. And it was a black man, and he had a thin mustache. And I remember thinking it kind of reminded me of Eddie Murphy, I guess, just because of his mustache. And so anyway, so again, don't know what that was about, didn't think anything of it. So I got up from my nap, and I decided I would go down to the beach. So I went down to the beach, and I was just hanging out at a bar, and then this guy came over to me and started talking to me. And after a while, I realized, oh my gosh, that's the guy's face that I just saw in my vision. And, you know, so for whatever reason, I was supposed to meet him, and I was having a precognitive type vision of that meeting. And then later, after I had came back from Bimini, I ended up watching a video with Kelly Coffey in it, and in the video, she was looking at a video, and it was showing those blue lines with the circles in them that were outlining a person, and she said that she sees those in the 5th dimension. And so I was very excited to hear that, because, you know, a lot of times we have experiences and we don't know exactly what they mean, and that's why I watch other people, so that I can learn and understand what I'm experiencing. And so for whatever reason, I think being in that energy and having that intention of going to Bimini, and maybe because I had been around, I had been in Sedona, and maybe I had some activations already, but I had been to Fort Lauderdale several times before, and I never had any of those experiences. So I think the intention of going, and maybe also being somewhat activated, helps trigger activations within you when you are going to these places. And so during my time in Bimini, I didn't have that many profound experiences from a spiritual perspective. The one that I do remember in particular was, we were doing a meditation, and I ended up getting a vision of a lion's head, and to me that represented my Lyran connection. So I was very excited to have that experience while I was there. And then as I was leaving Bimini, going home on the airplane ride, I ended up going home. I was going to stay the night in Fort Lauderdale. I decided to just go ahead and go on home. And so I was going on in the evening flight. And as I sat down, all of a sudden I started hearing this angelic choir singing in my head. And of course, you know, we're always paranoid and we think the worst, and I was sitting here thinking, oh my God, the plane's gonna crash, I'm gonna die. And so anyway, so I'm just sitting there listening to this choir, and it was probably for about 10 minutes I would hear it. And so I just thought, you know, well, that was really, really interesting. And so it wasn't until later when I got back, I ended up reading a book by Magenta Pixie, and she talked about the choir, the angelic angels of Atlantis. And so I wondered if that was a thank you from them for going to that place. And then the final experience and the most profound experience was when I got home. And so when I got home, I had actually scheduled a visit to hang out with Max the Crystal Skull. He is on display. His Crystal Skull keeper, Joanne, she has him where you can visit with him every once in a while, and so I had scheduled a visit to be with him. He is one of the 13th Crystal Skulls. Crystal Skulls are record keepers, so he has a bunch of knowledge, and so when you spend time with him, it's usually very profound. And so I don't know if this experience was related to being with him and in addition to Bimini, or if it was just related to being in Bimini. So I had scheduled a time with him, and then later on that weekend I was in my room, and I remember all of a sudden I just had this vision, and I've never experienced this before. This is one of the most profound psychic experiences I've had, where my eyes were literally open, and I saw, you know, the waters of Bimini where it had just been. It's that really unusual green, kind of bluish color that's just really amazing looking. And then there were these trees that looked like they had been shaped by the wind. And as I was staring, seeing this vision, as I would physically turn my head, I would see more of the water and more of the scene. And so I was very confused. I didn't understand, was I seeing what somebody else was seeing at that time, or was this me, you know, at a different time seeing that? It was totally crazy. And then after that, I saw these series of visions that I actually still have not figured out what they were or what they mean. But one of the visions was this cracked, like desert-like scene where, you know, where you see these deserts where there's just absolutely been no rain and the ground is totally cracked. I saw that, and then I saw something else where it looked like a leaf, and then there were these little protrusions coming up. I don't know what that one was at all. And then I had another vision where I saw like these hands all kind of coming together around in a circle, and it kind of looked like an x-ray vision, except for the bones looked kind of cartoonish. So again, I don't know what those were about, but they were right after I had been to Bimini, and so they were definitely related to Atlantis somehow. So those are things that I'm still trying to decipher. But anyway, I just wanted to share those experiences. I know that as you begin to wake up and your DNA is activated and you start to have these memories, some of these experiences you may have. And again, a lot of this is triggered by meeting other people. It's also triggered by going to different places as well as different spiritual practices. So anyway, thank you. I appreciate it. Till next time. Bye-bye.